All right, cool. It says here, let me see here if it's okay, cool. It says that we are streaming, or it says we're starting. Okay, cool. All right, it's saying that we are live. Excellent. Hello, everyone. Welcome to. Oh, I didn't even put the title. I'll have to put in the title here of the Lost and Found Bin, episode 71. Have no fear, this is the Lost and Found Bin. I just forgot. I put in a regular title here without. What I ended up doing, how I do this, I'll give you some inside baseball, everybody, is I paste the title from the previous week into the title, and then I wipe everything out, and then I put in my other title for this week as well as how I do it, so I know how to keep track in terms of the numbers. So anyway, everybody, I'm going to check the chat to make sure that people. Hello, everyone. Excellent. We have the reader, we have Buster, we have everybody. Hopefully, Linda. Hello, JH. We got Charles. Hey, Charles, how's it going? So we got QWERTY McGee. We've got all the usual suspects. So I'm glad everyone's showing up. Thank you for being here. This is the Lost and Found Bin. I will fix the title there. So we'll obviously get to this new color. This blackest of black that they're going to use for aeronautics, and they're going to use for all kinds of other different and interesting applications in a second here, Chick. But so how have you been feeling this week in terms of the spikes? Because I pasted out at least one major Schumann spike, and I was feeling it pretty hard. What about you?
Yeah, I've been watching it. I've been sharing it on my Twitter. There's been a bunch of different activity, and it's been a mix between the unnatural peaks that start at full volume and end at full volume, and also the natural ones where there's like a build up and a crescendo and then a falling away. So it's actually been both that have been going on. And there's also been just lines of really quickly blasts that are it's that one's kind of strange because when that happens, you often get the black line phenomena where no information is coming in, and people have been saying, oh, it's just that the system doesn't work for a minute, and that's why it's like a black line. And but we never saw those black lines before February of this year. So I don't know why this year the equipment would have such problems that it would just stop working altogether at different times.
No doubt, no doubt. It's a. It feels as if there is a ramping up in terms of it, and I think we had sort of a breakthrough, although we have no proof. But eventually, it always seems to fall in our laps when we start talking about something like this. Inevitably, we're like drawing it towards ourselves. But with these new blocks that are coming up in the Schumann resonance, we are seeing something that seems to be almost unnatural, as if they're taking. The system offline and doing something with it. And by the system, we mean the reality. Hey, it's 3:33. That's wonderful. I just saw that, Jennifer. They're taking it offline to do something, and then they bring it back online. And when they do, they make these massive changes in terms of the Mandela effect. And we all feel these shifts. And part of that is naturally it's the Schumann. And I don't know what it is. I don't know how it's done. But these blocks that we're seeing is a new phenomena that is probably pretty much, I would say, relegated to 2019 itself. It seems to be now. I'm noticing. What about you? I'm noticing minor blocks now. They had the big one, but I'm seeing full blocks kind of popping in and out, as if they're just taking it offline for just a minute or two and then bringing it back up. Is the feeling I get as an IT person.
I mean, that could be what's going on. I mean, I have my suspicions, of course, that what's happening is that this is actually almost like a reverse spike, like that there's no information coming in, and it's almost like a dip being shown on the chart, but like a dip like we've never seen before, because you can see when there's very low activity, like it turns a really deep blue to represent like, oh, there's very little going on there. But I don't know. There's just been so many strange things coming up. I've been seeing more and more of those maps that have the four islands around the North Pole, and I keep seeing like the lore and everything that's attached to that, even though it doesn't even exist on this version of Earth, where they think that the tides like come in and out from the north, and there's just all these weird things going on, and it kind of connects up with these almost in and out tide swells of the Schumann resonance as well. So I don't know if there's maybe a connection with another version of Earth that's like pushing things that doesn't make any sense here. There has been a time or two, and of course it's really hard for me to think of it right now on the spot, but there's been a time or two where something that I've grown up with that's always, been that way for me, actually the version of it from a different world makes more sense. The name makes more sense, or the movie makes more sense, or the person's name makes more sense when you add that letter or when that letter is taken away. Or, and I know that's very broad, but I'm sure some of you guys have seen the same thing where it's like, okay, even though this isn't the version that I'm used to, this actually makes more sense. So it kind of proves that even though everything is kind of scattered around in these different versions of reality, there was at some point, I believe, a version where most things made sense and there wasn't a whole bunch of like junk data or strange data with bits and pieces missing. And I think that that's, tied in with these kind of shifts we've been seeing lately, where there's just strange things going on. You were the one that was actually posting about animals becoming even more intelligent, ravens particularly.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And before I thank you for bringing that up, I actually have that clip to show everyone here, and I want to thank Charles Myers. Thank you for the super chat. That's super awesome. And Charles is talking about, just, helping us grow the channel. It's all going to go to a good cause. It's going to go to the website. And then, well, no, what it's really going to happen is you guys are going to all give me your money, and then I'm going to make off to Madison, Wisconsin. I'm just going to throw down. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, I know it's stupid. I can't get over that, but
Again, you're doing it
I'm
again.
gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. But I want to thank Charles Myers. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. That's wonderful. No, so everybody, if you're not on the Twitter feed, now I was talking about this. I've been actually obsessing over this Raven thing. Now, a couple of people have talked about Ravens being incredibly intelligent. A couple of people have talked about, and they've even messaged me talking about birds being able to do all kinds of different things. But right now, according to Wikipedia, they're saying that ravens can. Well, let me just play this for you, this clip. And this is a real clip. This is not. This absolutely is not. This absolutely is not fake. So I'm going to play this for you real quick.
Waka 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 waka.
Oh, we can't hear him.
Oh, you can't hear him say waka waka waka?
No, we can see
Oh,
him,
you
but
can
we
see
can't
him?
hear him.
Okay, cool, cool. It's okay, guys. I actually got it on my I actually have it on. Tell me if you can hear it here. Maybe you guys can actually hear it here because I'm going to play it on the desktop. Tell me if you can hear it here.
Nevermore.
Did, did you hear
Uh,
that, guys?
I don't hear anything.
Uh,
Oh, the people in the chat can hear
Waka
him.
waka.
Okay,
okay.
awesome.
Good, as long as they can hear the waka 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 and the nevermore. As long as folks in the chat could hear that madness. That was apparently all all ravens can do that. Okay, Charles, everybody's saying rain on the plains. Okay, cool. Mandela 108. Yeah, apparently if you look up ravens can talk, and I'm going to do this in real time. You can't see it, but I'm going to do it real quick. Raven can talk. If you do that, if you type that up, it will actually say that, are you ready, in captivity? Ravens can learn to talk better than some parrots. They also mimic other noises like car engines, toilets, flushing, and animal and bird calls. They've been known to imitate wolves, foxes, and even attract them to carcasses that ravens aren't capable of breaking open. So, yeah, for some reason, I haven't been able to get around this because of what it was saying, like Fozzie Bear, waka waka waka, and the fact that these things apparently have an extensive vocabulary. I'm just, everything just seems to be it's dissolving consensus. It's just insane.
And J.H. Armstrong saying there's another clip with a raven or crow using a bottle top as a slide. And I was just about to share a link in the chat of a crow that completes an obstacle course to get a treat.
Oh
So
my
the crow
god.
is actively problem solving on the level that, perhaps a young human would. Or maybe even, depending on how bad you are at puzzles, maybe a slightly older human. But the crow is doing it. Like, he doesn't have any problem. He's determined to get his food. And it's quite a complex obstacle course they've set up for the crow.
Yeah, so I just the thing about it is these animals are I think they're being impacted. We talk about mandanimals in terms of the hybridization of these particular animals, and we all know that that's happening. But also, too, what could be happening are the leaps in abilities and intelligence, and just the I don't know. I just there's this. It's just weird. Just looking at it, I didn't believe it was real, so I dug around, and they're all over the place. The with ravens just having conversations with folks, and just they could be just parroting back what people have taught them, but even so, just the ability to do that and the way to sound almost like a person is just weird and creepy to me.
It's something that, like, we really associate with parrots. And, I presume for most people, parrots could always mimic speech, but I haven't heard people up until now talking about like ravens mimicking speech or crows being able to solve obstacle courses. Like, I've heard of magpies being very smart and able to steal shiny things,
Hmm.
but there's actually been a change where people from this, place or what have you have been saying that magpies don't like shiny things anymore, that magpies are afraid of shiny things.
That's
And I'm just
insane.
like, that was never the story for us. It was always like, especially like, I don't know if it happens as much in the States, but England anyway, if you left shiny things out, a magpie would come and take them and put them in its nest because they love shiny things.
That's so bizarre. It's everything is changing. It's so bizarre, and just the behavior. I just a waka waka waka. It was like it was so weird. It's so bizarre. So that was something that I've been on for at least 48 hours now. I've literally been obsessing over it. And yeah, it does the idea of bird brains. When you think of that insult, saying someone has bird brains, it just isn't true. Um, oh, and yes, the moon this morning, I get up around, sometimes between 4:15, but I have a somewhat newish cat, and he is lovably he's festively plump, let's say, and he likes to eat earlier than all the other cats, and he will wake me up. And last night the moon was so bright that it looked as if and like I said, I was up probably around just before 4 a.m. ish, sometime in that time frame, East Coast time, and the moon was so incredibly bright. I it was just over the tree line, and I went to the part of my side yard. I thought there was like a light in the sky, and I actually went to the side yard to look to around my tree line to see that it was actually the moon, because I thought it was like an incoming like a vehicle, like a helicopter or something, and I knew it wasn't moving, and I didn't see any kind of movement. But and then I saw that it was the moon, and it was astonishing to me for a couple reasons. One, because there were clouds up, so it was so bright, even though it was cloudy here, that it was astonishing that it was, because usually if the moon is really bright and we have clouds here, it doesn't matter. It's like this dim dot. It was bright, and it was like this. It felt like twilight.
I am not surprised at all. I don't hear anything now, but I presume everything's okay.
Yeah, yeah, everything was perfectly fine. Other people are
Okay.
saying their dogs are reacting. Um, let's see, people are saying it was amazing that they could see it, and the moon was a thing. It was a massive thing, and it was 13 moons in the Hindu calendar. It used to be 13 constellations until the Romans removed one. Well, I remember that we went from 12 to 13 back to the in the astrological signs recently. So, and they had an excuse for that. DARPA did, or excuse me, MIT and NASA did for that. So we certainly had that change going on. But all right, so I just want to get to this thing that's been kind of freaking me out a little bit, and it's a technology thing. It's kind of my specialty. Um, it's this new color that's out. It's the blackest black color. It's from Gizmodo. MIT engineers have created the blackest black to ever black, and that's the title to this Gizmodo article. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the article and scroll. And the big deal here about this thing, and it's called, well, I guess it's Move Over Vantablack, who also, there's like this race to create the blackest black color. So, for reference, Vantablack, the previous holder of the blackest black color, captured 99.965% of light. That's how powerful this is. So they're talking about using this for optical and space science applications for very black materials. They said obviously artists would be interested into it, but they were talking about as an ultra black coating. Let's see here. And they talk about Anish Kapoor, who's the sculptor behind the big silver bean in Chicago, and you can see clouds through that apparently. And the article just goes on to mention that this is a really, really big deal. And the reason why it caught my eye, and we'll add to this article, it's just not this article alone. It's this article and this article here. And it's this hole with that painting. Museum visitor falls in a giant hole that looks like a cartoonish painting on the floor. Now, the way that, and this is Gizmodo as well. So it says here, like a real-life version of Looney Tunes cartoon, a visitor to a Portuguese museum was injured last week when he stepped into an art installation resembling an inky void. Currently on exhibit at the Cervalas Museum in Portico. It's called Descent into Limbo by who else? Anish Kapoor. Includes an actual 8-foot hole. Now listen how they wrote this article. It's an 8-foot hole that's painted black, so it appears to have no depth at all. So if we go back to Gateway and we think about the Gateway process, and we think about the way in which reality works, that it has to be observed, right? We talk about quantum science all the time here, and we also talk about Gateway. And if you're a member of the Patreon, we're also now talking about the one human problem. And with the thing about all of these studies and all of these different FOIA documents is we're finding out that it has to be observed. Reality has to be observed, and it has to be believed. So the wording of the article here is saying that the hole was there, but they painted it with this paint to make it look like it was like one-dimensional perhaps, and someone didn't believe it and they fell into it, which makes no sense. If they made an actual 8-foot hole to not really cover that up, to me is at a minimum it's reckless and it's dangerous. And I know it's Portugal, but it's anywhere in the U.S. or probably anywhere in the North America, you would be sued right away for damages for that. So I don't understand. So Chick, I've got a couple ideas here. One is, and they all sound a bit outlandish, but the Mandela effect is outlandish. The Gateway process is outlandish. That this was done on purpose, and somehow this black color now, this new kind of color that's patented and is going to be used on aerospace technologies and certainly military technologies. Obviously, I think there's something to it. There's an activative property to it. Now, I have no proof of that yet, but I think there's an activative property to it, so that it can either bend space-time, it can bend at least the human way of vision and the human spectrum of vision, or it has some sort of activative power that it can somehow reorient the vibrational frequency that's in this electromagnetic field that we call reality. And I think someone was walking over it. It was an actual flat surface. They activated it, and this person fell in as a test case. Now, if that sounds outlandish, you've got to remember, and I wasn't actually able to fix the code in time, because you actually have to code things now to get things on YouTube. But I'm going to paste this in here if anyone ever missed this article from The Independent. It was talking about modern art was a CIA weapon. So art being used as a weapon has a long and favored tradition, particularly in the West, whenever it was doing battle with the Soviet Union. So I know it sounds weird, but what do you think, Chick?
I think that plenty of things are possible, and I think that there's no reason why that would be so impossible. Like when I think about the Oregon vortex, or the center of the world phenomena, or the Bermuda Triangle, or the Alaskan Triangle, like any of these totally strange points where reality kind of bends, and that's just accepted, in the world. It's like, why wouldn't that be such, why would that be so outlandish? If they found a way to absorb like 99% of light, and they found a way to, or rather, not they didn't find a way, but the current situation is that your perception has a big impact on what's going on. Of course, it looks flat, and I would be interested if there was somebody whose perception was so strong or so tuned, in a particular way that they believed it was flat and they didn't fall into it, or it wasn't 8 foot deep, or because they see it differently, it actually responds differently to them when they interact with it. Now, I don't know why this guy, fell in, unless maybe he was not facing it, or he really did think it was flat and he tried to walk across it, or whatever the situation was. But I think it's really interesting, and, almost getting into like SMQ territory here, where they particularly and specifically use the words abyss and limbo in regards to this hole.
Mm-hmm.
And why on earth would you be bringing up abyss or limbo in regards to just some hole you painted black, when you could easily call it like, the Roadrunner cartoon hole, like, would be more fitting for this thing. But again, it's some kind of, I don't know what the subtext is supposed to be from, the Mandela effect, but this almost feels like another one of those things that just weirdly comes into reality, leaves you with a strange feeling, and there's some kind of a pun that you don't quite get in the language that's used around it.
Right, and so I'm reading from the other articles where they're talking about this blackest black, which is the 99.6 or 965 black, and basically they had to grow it. They had to grow it as from carbon nanotubes, from chlorine etched aluminum foil, which is able to capture the light. It actually captures and pulls it in the light. That sounds like a black hole to me, one. But two, this sounds to me again as if you have a reality that is either has been destabilized from a 2012 event, let's say, or it's been destabilized from CERN, or it somehow has been destabilized. One of the points of why you would destabilize a reality is that you would want to be able to use that destabilization and take nanoparticulates and put it in the gaps, and use those nanoparticulates to reform and to reshape kind of the bending of light, kind of the bending of the reality as human beings can perceive.
Jamie.